Sandra, welcome to another episode of Asexualise, my Asexual Life. This is a place to be for education about asexuality, all things asexual. I share my asexual life journey in order to help you in yours. If you haven't already subscribed, hit that great big subscribe button right here, right now. Please hit that bell icon so you get notified of every time I go live like now or post a new video. Welcome to another day of Asexual Perspectives Month. We're now on day 11. Although in the UK it's gone on to the 12th of the month. But if you're in America or some other countries, you will still be on the 11th day. So apologies for being late in the UK. Anyway, today is a beautiful episode because we've got how asexuals deal with intrusive questions. Like, how did they react? So if you haven't already copy of Asexual Perspectives, please go to Amazon, Barnes & Noble or Waterstones. Go and grab your copy because we're going to be reading from it all this month. Asexual Perspectives Awareness Month is to celebrate the asexual spectrum and our differences within it. It's been a long day. So yes, it's very important to celebrate our diversity across the asexual spectrum and our differences within it. So we're going to crack on tonight and we're going to be discussing, yes, can you tell me about a time when you've had to deal with intrusive questions or difficult situation due to your asexuality and what happened? So I haven't gotten any intrusive questions, said Silji, yet, but Netflix and chill means something else. I found out the hard way. Oh, and hangout doesn't mean hangout. Why aren't these things explained? Holy hell, I had to be saved by my friend. All's good, nothing too much bad happened. I got out of there because his drunk ass could do anything. So it's really important, this is, that Netflix and chill does not really mean Netflix and chill. So if you're an asexual person, of course, you won't be thinking about sex, right? And therefore you'll be thinking if someone invites you out to their home, it's just hanging out like a friend or a best buddy and there's no sex stuff going on because your mind doesn't think like that, and you'll be just thinking, great, I can watch a movie at someone's house, have fun, hang out with them, right? But if it's a sexual person, you're talking about Netflix and chill means sex and chill. So it means I'm going to invite you around to my home to watch a movie, but really I'll pounce on you and try to have sex with you. That's what really it means. Netflix and chill is basically secret language that sexuals usually use to mean come back to my home, my place, so I can turn the charm on and try to seduce you into having sex with me. That's what it actually means. So when this person is saying, I haven't got any intrusive questions yet, but Netflix and chill means something else, that's what they're talking about. And also, hangout doesn't mean hangout. Again, it basically means I want to have sex with you. So especially if you meet a sexual person and they want to come to your home, they've got sex on their mind, right? I was on Facebook dating, as you know, and I got a lot of sexuals just like having met me said, oh, I'll come to your home. It's like, no, really? No, I'm not interested in you coming to my home. Why would I want a stranger in my home, in my bed, because he wants sex with me, obviously, and I do not want that, right? So that was a big eye-opening of how many people on Facebook dating guys like are really like that, you know? It does my head in, right? It's like, why are people so focused around sex? Drives me nuts. Right. So this is Nikkis Story, page 87 of the book, if you got a copy. Can you tell me about a time when you've had to deal with intrusive questions or a difficult situation due to your asexuality and what happened? I have had a very difficult time getting one of my roommates to understand what it means to be asexual. The first time I told her, she just could not wrap her head around it. So she drilled me with aggressive questions instead. She asked me if I was just confident. She asked me if I just wasn't confident in my body and didn't want to be seen naked. Told me I just had not met the right guy yet. She is straight and was absolutely adamant I could not know that I didn't want sex if I hadn't had it. That I think was the most frustrating thing was that to her, my whole asexuality was invalid because it didn't know what I was missing. I felt really backed into a corner and didn't know how to defend my own identity. So I gave up and let her win after a while so she would leave me alone. I felt really empty afterwards, that like she had invalidated a huge part of who I was. We went to the movies a few days later, and during the film, there was a sex scene. She leans over to me in the theatre and starts interrogating me about how she can't understand how this isn't attractive to me and how crazy it is that I don't want that kind of sex in my life. I didn't say anything to that. I didn't say anything to that. I guess I was really startled, and a movie theatre isn't really the place for that kind of argument. We are still roommates and we get along fine, but a part of me has never forgiven her for her comments. The worst part is, I'm sure she didn't realise how offensive her comments were and likely doesn't even remember the conversation. And so I think this is a really big deal, you know? When people are making asexuals feel like there's something wrong with us, that we're broken, that we're not normal. I'm glad I'm not normal, but you know what I mean? That actual fact that we're being made to feel like there's something wrong with us, and you know, for not wanting sex and not finding people sexually attractive, it's really disgusting. But one thing I would say is it's not up to you to wait for the person to validate your asexual identity. Thank you for the thumbs up. Lots of love to you. Because you don't have to look for external validation. You can just know in your own peace of mind that you are asexual. So even if someone's trying to invalidate you, they can't invalidate your asexual identity unless you allow them to. So you must be super strong. It doesn't matter what they say. Just continue to say strongly and confidently that you're asexual, that you don't like that type of thing, that you're not into that. You know, it's just not your thing. And if their person respects you, you should say, can you please stop interrogating me now? Can you please stop making me uncomfortable? Because I've already told you that I don't like it, yet you're carrying on, which isn't fair on me. You know, because they need to respect you as an adult. We're all adults, right? You know, obviously some asexuals are under 18, so you could argue they're not an adult, but we're all able to make our own decisions, even if we're little, young, small, right? Even if, you know, like we do have parents and guardians, we can still make our own decisions. And I would say, do make your own decisions from a young age. Do decide what you feel's right for you, right? The more that you can live in a decisive action state, the more you can make your own choices and decisions as a youngster, the more you'll make decisions when you're older and be less scared, right? And a lot of these people, you know, they just come from a place of misunderstanding, misinformation, of thinking that they're right, and it's not good, but we can't change them. We can only change ourselves. And so, you know, don't give people the power to invalidate your identity, right? Stay confident. No one can invalidate you if you don't let them, right? I have the rule that my asexuality is non-negotiable. It's not up for debate. It's just not up for debate, right? And if you find that you really feel bullied and harassed and all this lot, then you need to move away from these type of people, because they can't create happiness in your life. They can only create like sadness and pain, right? You need to move away from those people and, you know, find people that respect you for who you are, that understand you, that care about you for who you are. You know, not people that are going to try to invalidate you and tell you what you are or not, right? You're able to make your own decisions in life, right? And no one has that type of right to try and have that power over you to tell you what you are and are not. You know, many people who are asexual don't have sex, have never had it in their life before. And this thing about, oh, how do you know if you haven't tried sex? You don't need to try everything in your life to know you don't like it. You don't have to murder someone to know you don't like it, right? You know what I mean? It's kind of crazy. These people that say, I want to try everything in my life before I die. It's like, really? You want to try really dark killing people, do you? No, you don't want to try everything in your life. Don't be ridiculous, right? You know, it's horrible, right? People should have self-discipline. They should know, don't be ridiculous, right? You know, it's horrible, right? People should have self-discipline. They should know themselves well enough to know not to impulsively do everything and try everything. The people that try everything are like, oh, I want to try everything in my life. They're harder to trust because they could chop and change like a chameleon, like to their surroundings, right? You want to be with someone who doesn't mind trying some things if they want to try some things, but also knows their own mind. Someone who has conviction and courage to be their true authentic self, someone who's, you know, puts their stake in the ground and say, hey, this is me, you know, this is who I am, this is what I'm about, you know, I'm not changeable like the wind just when someone comes along and tells me to do the next greatest thing. You know, there's a lot of stuff in the entrepreneur world and it's like the next shiny object and people keep saying do this, do this, do this. And one of my Facebook friends, he's an entrepreneur, he was doing this challenge about detoxifying from social media. And he was asking me, do I want to do the challenge? I was like, no, because I'm too busy. The whole point of detoxifying yourself from social media is to realise it's dopamine hit and it keeps you hooked. So you are on Facebook more and less doing your own work, right? So, and all these challenges are dopamine hits. So I would be using the challenge to get rid of the dopamine hit that I'm actually doing through the challenge by having the dopamine hit in the first place, if that makes sense. So, you know, it's better to say no. You need to learn to say no to other people's agendas, no to other people's things that don't serve you, right? Not say yes to everything. You have to be a no person sometimes. It's good to be a no person. It's good to know your own mind. It's good to say I don't want sex. It's good to say I don't need to try sex in order to know I don't like it. This is a very positive thing, knowing yourself and knowing your own mind, right? I would rather be, for example, in a relationship with someone who's very strong, knows their own mind, knows what they want and don't want, than someone who's like, oh yeah, I'll try anything and everything. You know, I'm not interested, for example, in a person who smokes or does drugs. If it's like, oh yeah, I'll try everything, they'll be trying drugs, they'll be trying all sorts of different things. It's like, I don't want that. I want a guy who's steadfast and strong, knows what he wants, is grounded, knows his own mind, and, you know, doesn't give in to temptation or the next latest greatest thing. Because if they're off doing that, they're more likely to cheat on you as well or replace you with someone else easily, and you're going to be irreplaceable. You're going to be, instead of being irreplaceable, you're going to be easily replaceable. You know, you don't want that type of person in your life. You want someone who has courage in their conviction, who is steadfast and strong. So make sure that you really, really, you know, stick by your guns, right? That don't let people sway you otherwise, right? Because your time is precious, you are precious, and it's good if you protect your virginity for yourself. It's nothing to be ashamed of. No one should be bashing you for it. No one should be pushing you into a corner. Love who you are, and just, you know, the people that have a go at you, just say, I am who I am. You know, just keep reiterating firmly to them, you know, I'm asexual, I'm asexual, I'm asexual. This is what I do. Right, so Elles Story about dealing with intrusive questions. Just the other day, a friend sent a handful of pictures of a shirtless actor to our group chat, and they were exclaiming over how hot he was. Just before this, I've been trying to find out where she was so I could meet up with her, and she included in the message containing the images. So my response was, thanks, I'll comment on the guy. I can't even remember anything about him now, and I had to deal with explaining that he just didn't appeal to me. I remember that he had nice eyes and mentioned them, but that was it. I felt really awkward because that led to me explaining that I have a very low to non-existent sex drive, which is just an awkward conversation to have with a mixed gendered group of teenaged people. So this is the thing, you see, is, you know, when people are asking you like, oh, you know, like, oh, you know, like, what do you think of him? Don't you think he's hot? Don't you think he's horny? Don't you think he's sexy? Don't you want to have sex with him, or for whoever, whatever gender it is? You know, it is very difficult for an asexual because a lot of the time we can't even relate to that. And like this person said, they remembered that the person had nice eyes, right? So when an asexual is looking at a person, a lot of the time we're looking at aesthetic type of attraction, like a painting, like a beautiful painting, a beautiful piece of artwork, a beautiful sunset, a beautiful landscape, right? That's how we're kind of viewing the person, whereas they're viewing them in a sexual way, like, oh, I want his body to have sex with him or her, or whatever gender, you know? So it's completely different thinking, you know, and sometimes sexuals don't even realise they're asking intrusive questions. They're just thinking it's normal conversation because that's what they normally talk about with their sexual friends. To them, it's just normal and it's no different. But it's very difficult when you're asexual, especially if you're not used to dealing with those type of questions. Afro, you think an asexual can change their views on sex over time? Well, I'm more sex repulsed than I've ever been, really. So I guess I can change my views on sex because I used to have sex in the past before I knew I was asexual. So I've gone from not minding it with, well, not really wanting it, but not minding it with the ex, being okay with it, to I don't like it at all now, very sex repulsed, don't want any do any sex acts at all. So yeah, my view has changed on sex over time. I guess that's not what you wanted to hear, but that's my view. I guess you wanted to hear if asexuals can change their view as in like sex. And maybe some can do that, but for me, I'm more sex repulsed than I ever was. I don't like oral sex, anal sex. I've never had anal sex anyway. Don't like masturbating a guy. Don't like him below the waist. You know, I don't like at all. I used to do all that type of past, not anal sex. I used to do all that type of past and stuff in the past, you know. So for me, I've got very sex repulsed. And I've also read in asexual groups on Facebook, some of those have become more and more sex repulsed as well. Because when you don't know you're asexual, you think you have to live up to a certain expectation of the other person. You think it's normal to have sex, that everyone's doing it. And so you kind of go along with it, even if you might not really like it that much to be that keen on it. But when you find out you're asexual and discover who you truly are, you can kind of relax and chill out and be yourself and think, God, I don't have to do that anymore. Because there are people like me, thousands of them in the world, that don't want, need, or like sex in a relationship. So it's possible for me to get that type of relationship, and I don't have to now drop my standards and be expected to do things that I don't want to do. And so really, it's a huge relief when you find out there's thousands of others like you, because we're 1% of the population, which is thousands upon thousands of people, right? And so yeah, so for me, I've changed because I don't like sex. I'm very sex repulsed, and like I said, there's other asexuals that are too. And so, you know, we can change our view on sex, but it doesn't mean to say we're going to be positive about it. We could become a lot more negative about it, you know. So I'm really pleased that I don't like sex. I never wanted to like sex in the first place, and you know, I just, you know, for me, it's like I'd rather have stayed doing the washing up. And yeah, you know, there's a lot to be said about that because I don't like washing up. But yes, so I hope that's answered your question, Afro. Yeah, so going back to what I was saying is, you know, like with asexuals, we tend to like look at people like a beautiful painting. We tend to, you know, look at things in a lot of different way. You know, for me personally, I like the guy's face and frame, like his face and shoulders. That's what I'm attracted to. I'm not bothered about his from the waist down. You know, I just like to see his beautiful hair and his beautiful eyes and his beautiful face and his beautiful smile and his beautiful ears, all this bit here. And that really, really makes me feel great if I like looking at him like a beautiful picture, you know. Just, and I do in general when I'm video chatting though, even like to see my the faces of my friends, because I just like that in person. I kind of like, it doesn't have to be directly in the eye contact, but like face to face contact. I feel awkward if I'm seeing the person at a certain angle and I'm not seeing them face on. I feel weird, like I'm looking at them like an outside person and I'm not really in the conversation with them. So for me personally, I like face-to-face direct contact, you know. It's very important, even with just my friends. So Zoe's story, this is good. Can you tell me a time when you've had to deal with intrusive questions or difficult situation due to asexuality and what happened? Most of my uncomfortable moments, there are a few, by the way, with Zoe's. So when someone asks me about my personal status, are you married? Do you have a boyfriend? And feels awkward when I reply no. They've got no idea how to continue the conversation with someone who is out of their comfort zone, i.e. not fitting the normal mold. That makes me uncomfortable, and I or they usually just end up walking away. Now, when I first told my best female friend that I was asexual, for quite some time afterwards, she was uncomfortable really about talking about it. But now she's just like really chilled out about it, really says, oh yeah, you know, she really supports me and, you know, really is like, you know, in my corner cheering me on type thing. And, you know, saying, oh, you know, I want you to be successful, all the work you do with asexuals, it's really important, it's really good what you do and stuff like that. And she hopes my book that I'm currently working on is a huge success. And so that has been the change around. But some people can be really uncomfortable about asexuality. It's weird because it's like, I would have thought more people would be uncomfortable about talking about sex, but it seems like people are more uncomfortable about talking about not liking sex than liking it, which is weird, but it's because it's something they're not used to and they can't fathom it. And obviously a lot of them think it's because you've had abuse or bad experiences, or, you know, you just don't really know yourself, or, you know, there's some other reason for it. Because people find it difficult to accept what's different to them. It makes them uncomfortable. But you have to remember that's the problem with them, and the issues coming up with them is not really to do with you, because you're not the one who's uncomfortable with it. They are, right? So, you know, all you can do is keep being yourself, keep just reiterating you're asexual, what that means to you, how great your life is being asexual. And so if they're your true friends, they'll see you're happy and they'll be happy for you, right? Zoe again. During events geared more towards couples, Christmas party at your workplace when spouses are invited to accompany you, Valentine's Day, New Year's Eve, when everyone seems to have someone to kiss, going on holiday solo, going to the restaurant solo, going to the theatre solo. These seem to make my weirdness all the more apparent, which makes me uncomfortable, which is why I rarely do these things. Now, for me, I absolutely love self-dating. I don't have a problem with it at all. I couldn't give a stuff nor monkeys what people think. I love going to the cinema on my own. I love going out for meals on my own. I love going to the theatre on my own. Like when I was in London, I used to go to London quite a lot. I used to dress up and go to theatre performances. I've seen Shrek at the theatre. I've seen Bodyguard on my own. What else have I seen on my own? Grease. I think I've seen. Have I seen Grease on my own, or did I see that with someone? I saw Shrek on my own. There's a Wizard of Oz, but it's Wicked it's called. The Bodyguard I saw on my own. I've seen quite a lot of stuff on my own, but I've also seen it some with other people as well. But Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, that was really good. I like going to places on my own. I like self-dating. I'm really proud of it. I'm like, wait, come on, take myself out, have a nice time. I actually get really, really sad in my soul if I haven't self-dated for a while. I feel like I'm lacking. I feel like my energy's running out. I'm like, I need to refuel, people, you know? So it's really important self-dating for me. Obviously, as I broke my ankle back in April, I haven't been going out hardly at all. So that's been really difficult for me. But, there's lots of things you can do indoors as well. And, if I can't walk on my ankle very much, then obviously I need to rest it. But I can still do this show now it's back, because this makes me so happy and I don't have to move my foot much. It's still hurting my ankle now, but I just try and forget about it, really. Right, refusing to date men. If someone tells me they have the perfect guy for me and they can set me up on a blind date, they always end up looking at me as if I sprout two heads when I answer no. Them, what do you mean no? I thought you weren't seeing on anyone. Me, I'm not. Them, then why don't you want this blind date? Me, because I don't feel like it. Them, why not? People just don't know. People just don't get how a woman could not want to date a man nor be part of a couple with a man. So yeah, some asexuals, they don't want a relationship with anyone. They're really, really happy on their own. They're very self-fulfilled. They don't need anyone to be in a relationship with them at all. And they can just live their whole life never being in a relationship. Other people who are asexual, they do want a relationship, but it doesn't necessarily mean to say it was the opposite gender. They might want it with the same gender. They might want it with a non-binary person. They might want it with a gender fluid person. Everyone has their own preferences of who they're attracted to. I'm attracted only to hetero guys. So, I prefer to be attracted to asexual guys or unsexual guys, although I'm still attracted to sexual guys, because obviously with sexual guys it's not really going to go anywhere for me. I'm a hyper romantic and hyper kisser. If I kiss a sexual guy, within 5 minutes he wants sex with me, because he can't handle it usually, and he can't handle it over a long period of time for sustainability in a relationship. It would probably just do his head in, right? So really I'd need to find an asexual guy for me, but I haven't found a suitable one yet. But I live in hope in the future. I'm staying single for now. So, Anonymous Story. Can you tell me about time when you've had to deal with intrusive questions or difficult situation due to asexuality and what happened? let's go for this. So when this is page 175 if you got the printed copy, by the way. When I told my former co-worker that I'm asexual, he asked me a lot of questions about possible causes such as rape, religious views, hormone problems, and the like. I've never been raped or sexually victimized, so I have no problem with answering such personal questions. See, that's very important because everyone keeps saying, oh, you can only be asexual if you had sexual abuse. Sexual abuse has got to be your reason for being asexual. And it's very rude to the people that have been sexually abused still identify as asexual. It doesn't mean to say just because you've had sexual abuse that you're not actually asexual. Obviously, if you're not having sex because you're afraid of it, but you still experience sexual attraction, then that's different. That would be a trauma issue that you need to deal with. But if you know you just don't experience any sexual attraction, you don't have the need, urge, want for partner sexual intercourse, then you fall on the asexual spectrum, don't you? Right? So, it's very good that I've got this person in this book, though, to say that they never have experienced rape or sexual trauma. Right. As for other factors, I told him that it's possible that hormones or biology may influence my asexuality, but I told him that I'm sure those things affect people too, and that such things shouldn't disqualify me from being asexual. He eventually stopped talking to me soon after we had this conversation. So far, he's been the only one to show hostility towards me because of my asexuality. I found this weird since he's gay, and I told him that I accepted his sexuality regardless. I'm very open to answering personal questions, so I've never felt offended by someone asking questions about my asexuality. As for being in a difficult situation because I'm asexual, thankfully I've never been in a difficult situation because of my asexuality. So yeah, I do answer a lot of personal questions as well, but I won't do it if the guy is trying to get sexually aroused by me, which is what happens a lot with sexual guys, particularly if I'm on dating sites that aren't asexual. They start asking me intrusive questions, and it's because it turns them on sexually, and it just gets disgusting. So I don't like doing that. Afro, say if a couple breaks up and one of the partners becoming asexual played a part in that, is it possible for that couple to repair what they had if the other partners showcase growth? Let me read that question again. Say if a couple breaks up and one of the partners becoming asexual played a part in that. Right, first of all, people don't usually become asexual. They usually are asexual but doesn't realise it. So the word becoming asexual, that I would have a big question mark about. But some people don't discover they're asexual until their relationship progresses or they're in a relationship, because they could find out where their partner is really into sex and they just don't feel the same way. And they're like, oh, is something up with me? Because this is not how society is usually. So I would ask the question, first of all, why have you used the language becoming asexual? It's not, asexuality is not a choice. Like abstaining is a choice, but asexuality is not a choice. So first of all, I would ask that question to you. Is it possible for that couple to repair what they had if the other partner showcased growth? Depends which partner you're talking about, or both of them. So I personally believe if you split up for a reason, then usually that's a reason to not get back together again, because most people do not change, and certainly not that quickly. They would have to know categorically that they were in the wrong, there was something fundamentally wrong with them and believed that, or something wrong with the way they are, or really wanted to change. But the guy, what does the guy mean? That it's a guy you're talking about. Is that right? The other guy showcase growth. Well, I don't know why you split up in the first place. That's the thing. If you split up through the lack of sex because they're not interested in sex, and you get back with them but they don't really want sex, that's not going to be good for you, is it? Usually, if you're sexually incompatible, it's better to move on and find someone who's more sexually compatible with you, rather than trying to push someone or pressurize someone into actually being something they're not. The hetero guy who made mistakes and broke her trust. So you are the asexual person, are you? And the hetero guy made mistakes and broke your trust, is that correct? Am I reading that right? Well, it depends. No. I don't know without doing an actual one-to-one coaching session with you. I don't know because these details are very difficult for me to understand. The girl is. The girl is asexual and the hetero guy made mistakes and broke her trust. Well, the girl deserves better, doesn't she? If the hetero guy made mistakes and broke her trust, I would say the girl deserves better. And it's very difficult to mend trust when it's broken. It can take years and years to fix that trust. Once trust is broken like that, it's very hard to fix it because the person will feel insecure. They'll be worried all the time that you'll do the same thing again. It'll always be in the back of their mind, you know, and a lot of the time, people don't really change unless they want to change over a long period of time and really fundamentally know they were in the wrong. But it's very, it's like I had a guy, one of my exes, he went to therapy for anger management for at least 8 months, yet he didn't change. He was doing it out of ego. Like, oh, I'm trying to help myself, but really he wasn't because he didn't want to change. He didn't know there was anything wrong with her. It's temporary. You know that you were in the wrong. Well, it's good that you own up to the fact you're in the wrong. That's great. I don't know what you did though. It depends on the severity of what you did, didn't it? If you cheated on her, then she'll probably never trust you again. Which, why should she? Do you know what I mean? So I don't know what it is that you did wrong. If you lied to her about something, again, it's hard. For me personally, if a guy's broke my trust, it's very difficult to ever trust him again. Their trust is gone and that's it. Some people can forgive people though. Some people can. Some people can change their mind. But it's very difficult to repair something once you've broken trust. Trust is the most important thing, as well as communication in any relationship. And if you broke that trust, then why should she trust you ever again? Why shouldn't she be with someone else? Well, I got stressed during a certain part of 2020 due to COVID. And I said things to her out of anger. Well, first of all, anger is not a good thing. It's a very negative and bad emotion to have. It's not a good way of dealing with any situation in any relationship. If you're feeling angry, you would say, I'm feeling angry right now. And you would express it in words like that. I'm feeling angry right now because of such and such a thing. Right? You wouldn't go rah and start getting angry because that's a red flag that you've got anger issues and abusive traits if you're not careful, right? And then you need to get them sorted out. And so if you've got any anger problems, you need to get them sorted out before you even consider getting back with her. Because you've got trust issues and you've got anger issues going on. That's 2 red flags. Do you know what I'm saying? So for me personally, I wouldn't want to get back into a relationship with a guy who, 1, is broken my trust and 2, is got anger issues. Because that person is a good person for me to be in a relationship with. They're not going to help me. They're not going to make me feel valued in my life. They're not going to enhance my life. They're not going to make me feel better. You've got to spend time on your own dealing with all these issues before you get back into a relationship with anyone or with that person, because you have to truly change, not just be doing growth for a little bit of time. You've got to truly fundamentally change your patterns and your habits and your beliefs so that you develop better coping skills when you're stressed out, better behaviors, better habits, better way of self-expression, better communication skills. So from what you've said, you've got a lot of work to do on yourself. And unless you're prepared to put the time, energy and effort into it, you won't fully change. You'll keep slipping back into bad habits. Once you've got that girl again, you'll slip into these bad habits thinking it's acceptable. If that girl takes you back, are you going to think, well, she's had me back now. She must really want me. Therefore, I can go back to my bad behavior and back to my bad habits because I've got her again. Do you see what I mean? I personally wouldn't recommend she gets back with you. I'd say you've got at least 2 to 5 years of working on yourself and your issues before you even get into a relationship with anyone. Because you're not a healthy guy to be in a relationship with if you've got anger issues and you're breaking people's trust. And you can't deal with stress. You've got unhealthy coping mechanisms. People who have stress, they can react in different ways. They can react in an avoidant way. They can react in an angry way, which is, they can react in an anxious way. People react differently to different stresses. I had a guy that was interested in me, and he was just couldn't deal with stress and be with me. And he's gone from my life now, and that's fine, And so, he's got unhealthy coping mechanisms because, when he gets stressed out, he shuts down emotionally and then doesn't want to speak. And so it's not a healthy coping mechanism, You can't have a relationship with someone who doesn't communicate with you and shuts you out. It's impossible. Can't have a healthy relationship with someone like that. Hello, Elm. Nice to see you. So he's got you've got anger issues. He's got issues of blocking someone out and having unhealthy coping mechanism like that. So you need to work on yourself for the next 2 to 5 years to be a healthy guy for any person, that girl or another girl, to be in a relationship with. And you need to take that time out to truly change yourself. Because if you don't, you're just doing it to please her, to get that specific person back or get the next person. Whereas we need to look internally at our own problems and our own, issues and sort them out before we get into a relationship. Like I personally, at the moment, am staying purposely single because the guy that I liked recently, he let me down. I thought he was an honest guy. I thought he really cared about me, and it wasn't true. Nice to see you, El. And it certainly wasn't true in the end. And the stuff he said to me at the beginning was not what he was saying to me at the end. So it's very different. So he's broken my trust. And I asked myself, if he ever came back into my life like a couple of years later, would I have him back? Would I be interested in taking him back? If he's currently like the way he is, then no, not whatsoever. I'd have to see a real significant change. But he doesn't think anything's wrong with him. He doesn't see he's got unhealthy coping mechanisms from past trauma. He doesn't see that, that he's got issues. So that's fine. He won't change. Good luck to him, I say. If he doesn't think there's a problem, he doesn't think there's a problem. Right? But you know what I mean? In order to change, fundamentally change, you have to change the root core of who you are. You have to change your ideology. You have to change the way you think. You have to change your habits. You have to change your reactions to become a better version of yourself so that in the future you're a better version for someone else. So I'm purposely staying single now because I need to work on myself as well. Because, I don't have anger issues, but I have trust issues now because this guy let me down. And so I'm going to take those negative emotions towards the next relationship and not trust the next guy if I'm not careful. So I need to also learn the lesson of getting to know a guy first before rushing into it like I did with him. So, yeah, exactly, Elm. You've got to accept yourself first, but you've also got to make yourself a better version of yourself. Like I was saying with Afro, if they've got, they've betrayed someone's trust and they've got anger issues, they need to work on that because you can't, when you're stressed out, when you're at your worst times, you can't take that out on another person. That isn't fair to them. It's not their responsibility to sort your emotions out when you're under pressure. Right? When you're under pressure from something, you have to be able to still behave respectfully and still be calm. And if you're angry, you would say, I'm angry right now. I'm feeling angry. You wouldn't go, rah, because that's not how you behave. If I'm feeling, before a serious relationship, exactly, Elm, you have to accept yourself first before a serious relationship. And you have to really know what a serious relationship takes because it takes a lot of hard work, time, energy, effort. And if you're not up to the job because maybe you just aren't a good enough guy at the moment, maybe you haven't developed yourself into the best person, maybe you're not good, you're not good enough for someone yet. You have to make yourself be a better person for yourself than for the person who comes along. Ask yourself, if I was me and if I was coming along, seeing me, and I was looking at me, would I want to be friends with me? Would I want to feel the wrath of this person's anger? Would I want to be in the firing line? Would I want to be with a person who's stressed out but can't deal with their emotions effectively? Would I want to be with that type of person? If the answer is no, then why are you being that type of person? So you always have to think about the other person's shoes. You have to think about, if I was on the receiving end of myself, on the receiving end of of what I'm doing with that person, would I be happy? Would I be comfortable? Would I understand? And if the answer is no, you've got work to do on yourself, right? You have work to do, and you shouldn't get into a relationship until you've worked, developed and grown yourself into a better person, got into better habits and actually changed your ways, because you're going to hurt the next person who comes along, whether it's that girl or another girl. And you're just going to keep hurting people because you're the one who's got the problem. You need to sort out and face up to it in the mirror and deal with it, right? So it's very, very important. Like I said, I'm making sure purposely I'm not going after relationship at the moment, because I need to heal from the past upset and pain that I've just experienced from a guy who I thought was really good for me, who turned out not to be, you know, sadly. And I still have him on my mind sometimes, even though I wish I didn't. But it's going to take me time to completely detach from him and to fully move on with my life and to just process the pain and process the fact that he said all this stuff to me, painted a vision to me in the beginning, which then ended up being very different to the one he said at the end, right? And he wanted to spend all this time with me, then no time with me, right? It's just like, it's completely like juxtaposition. And you're like, what the hell went on there, right? What was all that about? What was the truth? What wasn't the truth? What was the honesty? What was the dishonesty? You know, and sometimes you blame yourself, like, oh, what, did I do anything wrong? But you've got to understand that you're not responsible for another person's actions. Like, if someone's angry, you know, I'm not responsible for that anger. They're responsible for that emotion themselves and how they express it towards me, you know? For this guy, he kept saying he's so stressed out and he couldn't deal with it. So instead of getting angry, which is not good, he decided to emotionally shut down, which is another unhealthy coping mechanism, right? You don't shut down and shut people out, because that's not the way you behave, and you can't have a relationship with anyone if you're in that state, you know? So, you know, you have to find healthy ways of coping with things and, you know, and better yourself, you know? It's so important, you know, get some therapy if you want. You know, I've applied recently to go to have some therapy for trauma. I'll be honest, because there's no shame in it, because I've had a lot of trauma over these past few months, some of which I can't discuss publicly. But, you know, I had the ankle break as well back in April. And I also obviously had the relationship going off. So, you know, I'm going to get some therapy. I've applied to get some therapy again. I haven't been in any type of therapy since 2014. And the last time I went there, that counsellor said you'd have to have sex in order to keep a good guy. So it was the worst experience of my life, and I've never been back since. That was when after that I discovered I'm asexual, because I went home and Googled, I love kissing but not sex, right? So I had a very bad experience last time I went, and I'm going back to the place where I had that bad experience. So that's not going to be great, is it? But they've changed the company name now. So it's like, oh, because I said to them, you've probably got my records, do not give me that person again. So I'm going to get some, hopefully, therapy for trauma, because I want to deal with it, you know? I want it out the way. I want it to better myself, better my life, and, you know, and move forward. I mean, I don't know how much I need of it. I don't know what's going to happen during it, but I'm willing to give it a go, you know? So I think it's very important that you do work on yourself, you know? Very important. Anyway, let's get on with the show. So, hope that's answered your question, Afro, and nice to see you, Elm, as well here. Lots of love. Right, so Molly's story. Can you tell me a time you had to where you had to deal with intrusive questions or a difficult situation due to asexuality, and what happened? So people ask me if I masturbate, if I was abused or have imbalanced hormones. I respond differently depending who asks, but I usually send people to asexuality.org if they have any more questions. And this is a very good tactic. Like, if someone's asking you really lots of intrusive questions, you can point them in direction of resources such as this channel or this book, Asexual Perspectives, or, you know, somewhere in another forum or group, right? Because, you know, this is what resources can help you with. They can help you also confirm your identity to someone else. They can help you have evidence of asexuality if you feel you need evidence. Stack the evidence, right? That asexuality is real. It's not a hormone imbalance. It's not there's something wrong with you or broken. There's thousands of asexuals online. So if someone's coming to you from the point of view of they think you're insane, calling yourself asexual, you're broken, or it's not true, or there's something wrong with you, just say, oh, well, look at all these YouTubers. Are they all wrong? You know, look at all the people on Twitter that are asexual. Look at the people on Instagram that are asexual. Look at the people on Facebook that are asexual. Look at all the YouTube channels that are asexual. Look at all the forums that are asexual. Right? You know, I mean, there's thousands of us. There's nothing wrong with us. We're just different, and that's okay, and that's good, right? So, yes, so let's get on with the show. Fiona's story, right? Fiona said this isn't entirely related to the question, but I was browsing the Avon website one day, and my twin sister happened to say, oh, my twin sister happened to see it on my phone screen. She was shocked and asked me, you're not looking at that website for yourself, are you? It is for a friend. Since then, she had subtly brought up asexuality into our conversations. I have to find ways to skirt around it. I'd come out to her, but I can't tell if she would take it well or not. Now, this is very problematic, because if you're worried about what other people think and their reaction all the time, you're not living your true authentic life, right? You should be coming out as asexual regardless of what someone thinks. It doesn't matter what they think of it at the end of the day. You are who you are. You have as much right to define yourself sexually, define your sexuality as anyone else. You shouldn't be playing small or hiding it or worried about what people think. You should just come out as asexual. You are who you are. That's it. People don't accept it. That's their problem. It's not your problem, right? Stop playing small or hiding who you are or playing your beauty down, right? You are beautifully asexual, and, you know, you need to actually show that to the world, right? Regardless of what someone says, whether they like it or not. It's not up to you to make someone like your sexuality. It's not up to you to try and persuade someone that you are who you are. Remember, your asexuality is non-negotiable, so it's just something that is. And you just say, I'm asexual. That's it. It doesn't matter whether they like it or not, whatever their reaction is, just be neutral. Whatever their reaction is, just think that's okay. It doesn't matter, because I'm still me. I'm still whole. No one can take my sexuality away from me. It's non-negotiable, and I'm okay with that, right? So, you know, be strong, be brave, be beautiful, bold, asexual you. Right. So, Joelle's story. Can you tell me about a time when you've had to deal with intrusive questions or difficult situations due to asexuality, and what happened? Joel, the time my mother and best friend sat me down at a fast food restaurant and to tell me about how much fun sex is and how I just needed to give it a try because I would love it. I wasn't out or identifying as asexual at this point, but wow, was that an uncomfortable conversation. A lot of just find a guy and jump on him. You don't need to like him. You just need to get it over with. Well, this is just ridiculous, right? You should never, ever just jump into sex with someone to get it over with. To prove a point, to be something society expects you to be. It is absolutely shocking, right? You don't need to give your body away. In fact, it's precious and it shouldn't be encouraged to just be given away easily, right? You don't want to get with someone who tells you something that they think you want to hear. Like going back to the guy earlier, right? People can paint a very kind of, you know, beautiful picture about you. They can say lovely words to you, but unless they prove what they're saying is true over a long period of time, then they might just be telling you what they think you want to hear and to get you and to keep you, unfortunately, right? So you want to be making sure that you've known this person a while before you give up your body and have sex with them. If you're an asexual who's thinking about trying sex, right? You don't just want to give it to someone willy-nilly, right? And you don't want to pressurize yourself into giving it to anyone. If you don't want sex, don't have sex. Keeping your virginity is amazing. It's incredible. I'm not a virgin, but, you know, it's good that you have kept that for yourself. So be proud of who you are. Be a proud virgin. It's great. So let's talk about Elles Story. Can you tell me a time when you've had to deal with intrusive questions or difficult situations due to asexuality and what happened? So Elle said, coming out to my parents, they told me asexuality didn't exist and made me feel like my feelings were invalid. Now, this is really upsetting. You know, I hate it when I see stories like this, and I know it does happen to other people too. I'm very thankful that my parents do not say stuff like that to me. I mean, when I found out I was asexual by the second phone conversation I had with them about it, they said it sounds like you, so they must have looked it up. So I'm really grateful and thankful for that. You know, they you know, and actually it made a lot of sense to them, my life, about the way I was, the way I taught, the way I'm like, I'm not interested in sex, and the fact I don't like nudity as well. It all of a sudden clicked into place with them, and they could understand where I'm coming from and understand me more. So actually, personally, for me, it's enhanced the relationship with my parents and made it better in that way. But I know not everyone's as fortunate as I am. So, you know, I really feel for people who have that type of reaction from their family. You know, it's heartbreaking and horrendous. But all I can do is say to you, you know, that you are beautiful, you are valid as you are, and I'm sorry you've had that experience, right? No one has the right to say that you're not who you are, right? It's very damaging, right? No one should be telling you, no matter with your parents, friends, relatives, no one should be telling you what you are or not. People should have respect for you, for who you are, right? You know, I think it's the right thing to do, right? So let's move on now to Jen's story, right? Jen Mullins, page 300 if you've got the book. So can you tell me a time when you've had to deal with intrusive questions about asexuality and what happened? That I've had friends get really confused because they really like sex. They weren't rude about it, just super confused. It was hard to explain. I've had people complain about me, saying that the A in LGBTQIA isn't for allies. It's caused a couple of arguments, but I still stand by it. Yeah, so there can be a lot of arguments over the A. These days, the A in LGBT plus QIA can stand for agender, asexual, androgynous, aromantic apparently too, which I don't understand why aromantic's in there, because aromantic's to do with romantic orientation, not sexual orientation. The only thing it is because it's a minority orientation, right? But, you know, it's kind of like the LGBT plus community is getting larger and larger, fitting every single minority they can possibly fit into that. But like I said, aromantic is to do with romantic orientation, not to do with sexual orientation, which is different to LGBT in general, right? So that's very interesting, because I didn't know till like the last year, I think it was, that the aromantic was even part of the LGBT plus community. I really didn't know that. So there you go. But I think times have changed. You know, things keep evolving, different definitions of things come out. So we have to move with the times, don't we? Right. So Andy's story, which is the final story I'm going to read out tonight, and this is, can you tell me a time when you've had to deal with intrusive questions about asexuality? So I was once hit on at Starbucks by an older man. I really felt harassed because he kept pushing all these bad lines and hovering round my table when I had just come in to do some work. I tried to put him off by telling him essentially, sorry, but I'm ace. Not only did he not know what that meant, when I explained it, he actually laughed. He said something like, oh, well, that's just because you've never had sex with me. He followed it up by talking about my hair and body in romantic and explicit ways. I kept denying him over and over again as he asked questions about why I was asexual. And then when he got it into his head to get something from his car, I packed up all my things and ran away. It was awful. On a more common track, I have had some strongly Catholic people ask me intrusive questions. It just seems like to tell someone that you're asexual is to give them permission to ask questions about it that they'd never asked someone with a direct sexual orientation. Things about what it is to be asexual, what might be wrong with me, or if I was abused at a young age. I even had my friend's dad tell me that I would never find someone that would be willing to marry me knowing that. It's what made me maybe more leery at the idea of being completely out. Well, I can understand Andy's point of view, you know, because, you know, once you've had bad experiences, negative experiences, it's really difficult to then progress sometimes. But you've got to understand those people that are being negative towards you is their problem. It's a reflection of them and their inability to deal with stuff that's different to them, you know, and inability to see another person's point of view. And inability to be open-minded. So you have to understand it's a reflection on them. It's not a reflection on you. There's nothing wrong with you being who you are. And something that has been in one of the comments very recently on my channel is someone asked me what causes for asexuality. And I'm like, nothing causes for asexuality. It's a genuine sexual orientation that's part of the asexual spectrum, just like any other sexual orientation. Then someone decided to say to me from an academic standpoint, you know, no one knows why there's different types of sexualities. And I said the fact that they've used the word cause, what causes for asexuality, is as though it's not normal, as though something is wrong and, you know, and it's abnormal, right? And that something made it like that. I have to let you know that nothing makes people be asexual, right? Being asexual is not the same as abstaining. Being asexual is not the same as being celibate. Being asexual is not the same as don't like sex or afraid with sex or don't want penetration. It's not the same as that. It's a lack of sexual attraction and or little to no interest in sexual activities. It's a full definition, right? But it's well known for the lack of sexual attraction, not the lack of action, right? And so you have to understand that nothing causes it. Like, people don't go around saying, oh, what causes heterosexuality? Because if we're going to look at what causes asexuality, we need to look at what causes heterosexuality. Because just because heterosexuality is the majority sexuality doesn't mean to say it's right or that everyone should be like that. And if no one is that way, then there's something wrong with them that's caused them to be different. Right? You know what I mean? The word cause is like, you know, there's something wrong, fundamentally wrong. Something's happened to push them to be that way. We need to accept that people are different sexual orientations, that they're naturally different. Different people are different. It seems like people can't accept the fact that people are different. People can't accept the fact that people think differently and are differently and feel differently. Right? Stop trying to put people into heterosexual, heteronormative boxes, because it's not nice. Right? Don't be a robot. Be yourself, right? And let other people be themselves, you know? So I think this is like, as well, they've got a good point. It's like, you know, if it's heterosexuality, people don't usually go asking people who are heterosexual really intrusive questions, like go up to the street, do you masturbate then because you're heterosexual? You know what I mean? It's like asexual do tend to get a lot more intrusive questions. I mean, part of it, I think they're curious because they've never heard of it before, but it can get to the point where it's just harassing like this person had, you know? And, you know, the fact that people, you know, this person said, because you've never had sex with me, is just disgusting. You know, it's like someone said in this book, it's magic dick theory. Oh, I've got this great dick and it's going to change your sexuality. It doesn't work like that. If a gay guy has sex with a woman, it doesn't stop him being gay. Right? There's lots of gay guys who are married to women to cover up their gayness. It doesn't stop them being attracted to men and stop them being gay. It's just a cover up. It's sad how many guys are gay. There is tons of them around the world. Absolutely loads of them. I think there's far many more than people actually realise. So many guys are into guys. Right? You find them on dating websites, in dating apps. They want a marriage convenience to cover up the fact they're gay. It's just ridiculous. But there's so many of them. So many of them. If the world accepted people to be gay in all these different foreign countries, and people would be out and we wouldn't have to have people hiding who they are or marrying someone just to cover up what they truly are and in effect using the person. Right? Everyone would be able to be themselves without any worry, you know, without any hassle, without any pain, and that's what it should be like. Society should be accepting of things and people that are different to them. There's no need to care about what others are doing. What does it matter to you? Just let them do it. Let them be themselves. Let them love and be happy in who they are. Right? Do you know what I mean? Let them be loved. Let them live and be who they are. It's very important. Asexuals are beautiful in and of their own right. And I wish every asexual to be happy wherever they are in their asexual journey. Right? Anyway, I'm going to love you and leave you for now. I hope you like this video. I want to say thank you to Afro for asking the questions. I do appreciate them. Appreciate you want to develop and grow yourself. That's good. Thank you to Elm for the positivity about, you know, it's important to accept yourself first before you get into a serious relationship. And, you know, thank you for everyone who's been here. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed, hit that great big subscribe button and make sure you come back and don't miss another episode. I'll see you on the next video live stream. And happy Asexual Perspectives Awareness Month, celebrating our diversity across the asexual spectrum and our differences within it. Lots of love, and don't forget to grab a copy of Asexual Perspectives if you haven't already. And I'll see you on the next video or live stream. Take care. Lots of love. Bye-bye. Bye.